This character is really cool. It's going to ask the player to break away from some of their normal habits, and you have to engage her in a certain way.
I swear, man, there is no creativity in this game. Fucking sucks. So I'm a little late on this, but it's not my fault. IGN took the video down, so we're blaming IGN. But a couple days ago, IGN put out a video where Hugo Martin basically broke down the trailer to Ancient Gods. I think the video was up for a couple hours, and then it was taken down. I didn't personally get to see it myself because I don't ever venture to IGN. When every review is like this,
and a near miss for a spot in the lineup.
With the 10-year anniversary of Call of Duty Zombies looming, there's never been a better time to grab some friends.
Consistently fast-paced gameplay that makes it fun to begin with. Plus, it's longer, tougher single-player campaign.
I know those reviews are for Call of Duty, but that's my point. Are all of them really worthy of these high scores? Come on now. They actually gave Infinite Warfare the lowest score. Alright, IGN, you get a like for being trendy. So to my understanding, the video was up for a couple hours. It was taken down. It was not edited well, or even edited at all. I think someone told me it was like 7 minutes of silence. Needless to say, IGN did a unsurprising oopsie. Some people thought it was taken down primarily because it was very spoiler heavy, but that turns out to not be the case, as they re-uploaded what I believe the original clip was. Only this time one of them actually did their job and they edited it. So what I wanted to do today was go over some of the things that was talked about. I'll leave the video link down in the description. I don't think it's officially on YouTube. I could be wrong, it might be. Again, I don't venture over to their channel. I got sent directly to their website. So first thing, let's talk about the DLC. A couple videos ago, I mentioned that the first DLC is going to be a standalone. You don't need to own the base game of Doom Eternal to play Ancient Gods Part 1. So if that's anything to go off of, then I'm assuming that the second DLC is also going to be a standalone. It just makes sense to me, especially since Hugo Martin basically said that DLC 1 and DLC 2 are going to flow into each other. They're both going to be climaxing the story of 2016. And if I recall correctly, back during QuakeCon, he did mention that we are going to be seeing, during one of these DLCs, the Dark Lord, potentially even fighting him. This is some very poor speculation on my part, but I'm just going to go on record and say that the Dark Lord's probably going to be one of the main bosses of the second DLC, while this DLC is primarily dealing with Fall of Heaven, and maybe we'll see another Maker type of boss, but we'll see. I'm ready to get ripped apart by my ignorance in the comment section. And like usual with these demons, I want to focus more on the gameplay aspect and not so much on the lore, especially since lately I've been more gameplay heavy, you know, providing all these guides. And like I shown at the beginning of the video, the demons that this DLC introduced are meant to spice up your gameplay a little bit. They're trying to get you out of the habit of spamming certain weapons, which undoubtedly was a huge influence in how the summoner works in this DLC, which we'll talk about in a second. But Hugo mentions that this demon right here is actually called the Blood Angel. It is a possessed maker. He doesn't specify exactly how you have to deal with them in a specific way. I'd imagine that the player using the chain gun right here is more or less to throw people off, and I don't think that's the way you want to approach it. I think they're going to go more towards the maker drone and be very reliant on precision bolt, especially back on my trailer breakdown. I did mention that their head does light up when a stray bullet hits their head. So I'm still assuming that that is going to be their weak point. It would actually be neat if they took a little bit of inspiration from Borderlands. If you guys have never played that game, there's an enemy type called the Goliath where it's kind of counterintuitive to what you've been doing the whole game. So during the whole game, like usual, headshots are a critical weak spot. But with the Goliath, if you hit them in the head, you'll knock off their helmet, and if you're not quick enough, there's a moment where they become enraged, gaining all their health back, and now an enemy that was pretty much on the verge of death and very trivial to begin with is now 10 to 20 times harder, and they become way more aggressive. I think it'd be neat for id Software to introduce something that's a little counterintuitive to what we've been taught the whole game, you know, actively going for weak points. Now, with this demon, you want to stay away from a weak point, because then you're going to have to deal with that moment where it transforms and becomes way more aggressive with a little bit of a health boost. I doubt that's the way it's going to work. I'm just saying, you guys want to spice everything up, fuck it, go against the weak points. Like, can you imagine a new player coming into the game, dealing with the demon and having no clue what to do with it, and you're telling them just actively go for the weak point? You're unknowingly making the game difficult on them. Best troll ever. Bravo, id. I'm actually happy for that idea now. It's not real though. At least not to my knowledge anyways. I'm just throwing out horrible ideas right now. But I'm curious, what do you guys think about the Blood Angel? What do you think the weapons of choice are going to be against it? And what do you think the weak point is? Speaking of weapons of choice, let's move on to the Summoner. It turns out this Summoner is going to be a much more formidable opponent than we initially thought. So as we know, the Summoner is going to be possessing demons, and we did also know that it's going to be granting some type of buff. It's now confirmed what the total effects are when the Summoner is possessing a demon. So it turns out the Summoner is going to be granting more power, more speed. You can't use that demon's weak points against it. So as an example, if they decide to possess a Arachnotron, you can't destroy their weak points, or you can't use their weak points to falter them. One or the other. He mentions that the weak points are no longer something you want to prioritize and that the demons can't be faltered. I'm assuming what he meant by that is when you destroy a weak point, that demon is no longer faltered. The demons are also now going to be very resistant to ballista shots when possessed by the summoners. So if you're someone that likes to spam Super Shotgun Ballista, that is no longer going to be a thing. You might want to go over to Super Shotgun Lock-On mod from now on. And it turns out the only way you can kill the summoner is via Microwave Beam, which is, yes, a nod to Ghostbusters. I also want to point out something that you guys probably already caught on to, but with this loop going on in the background, you might have noticed that the possessed tyrant was killed with the Destroyer Blade. So maybe the Ballista mods are going to become that much more important. I know a lot of people, myself included, don't really use the mods all that much, as the Ballista is basically a railgun. There's no need to waste time charging up the Arbalist or even the Destroyer Blade. So maybe what he meant was you can't spam the base Ballista, you're going to have to utilize specifically the Destroyer Blade mod more. It could be that this gameplay was also captured on easy, as there are rumors that there are going to be slight changes throughout the DLC depending on the difficulty you're playing on. One of the notable changes being the double Marauders. Supposedly on the lower difficulties, it's just going to be a single one, but if you're playing on a harder setting, that's when you're going to deal with 2 Marauders at the exact same time. If this is true, this begs the question, is that going to be expanded to the entire game? I think it should. I also feel like if you're going to play on a harder difficulty and make slight changes to the gameplay like that, there should be a bigger emphasis on weak points and less of an emphasis on lower settings. That way, we can stop hearing everyone complaining about how you can't play the way you want to play. And then those that really want to experience Doom Eternal the way it's supposed to be played can enjoy it on Ultra Violence and up. Just a personal suggestion of mine, but of course, you play on a lower setting, you're not going to get the hentai room of horrors from Mars Core, the Mario platforming from Mars Core, the controller abuse from the hentai room of horrors on Mars Core. But I mean, what can you do? Some people just love to cheat themselves of the full experience. Anyways, wrapping this up, in one of the previous videos, I mentioned the prospect of the DLC bringing a bunch of shorter levels for the sake of upping replayability. My optimism was immediately crushed by everyone. I'm sorry, I will not be optimistic again. But after reconsidering 3 to 6 missions, it does sound right, and the DLC is going to span about 6 hours. Going back to the trailer, this area right here, with a bunch of platforming and combat integrated into it, is known as the Blood Swamps. It's a location in hell, and this final image in the trailer is also a location in hell. I know some people thought that this took place in Urdak, but as I mentioned, as the Titan opens up his hand, that little blue aura behind it looks like that is the portal from Urdak. So that made more sense to me. Anyways, this portion is in hell. The Blood Swamps are also in hell, and from my understanding, the DLC is going to start up at the UAC Oral Rig. I said oral. Oh my god, I said Oral Rig. Ah, yes, I'm sure you're all familiar with the Oral Rig. So we're going to start up in the Oral Rig. You're going to clear out the entire place, and then I'm assuming there's going to be a portal at the bottom of the ocean to Hell, and then from Hell, you got to work your way back into Urdak. Obviously, that's just my speculation. What do you guys think about all this? How do you feel about no longer being able to spam the Ballista? Personally, I like it, especially if this is a sign that we can actually at least use mods effectively, then I think that's a great choice. And if it is true that if you play on a lower difficulty, then things are going to change and it's going to be easier all around, I think that'll be great as well. I probably am going to shame people for doing so, but I'm still going to appreciate the gesture. That's going to wrap it up for this video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Like always, I try to be as active with you guys as I possibly can, so questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, feel free to post that stuff down. And if you guys haven't joined the Discord yet, link to that is always in the pinned comment and down in the description. It's been going great lately. As a matter of fact, people just join to have meme wars, so if you want to join and just have a meme war with 3 other people, then feel free. But that's gonna do it from here today. Like always, guys, my name is Cynic. Thank you all so much for watching, but until next time, I'll see y'all later. If you're still here for some reason, nice, props to you. Write Oral Rig down in the comment section in parentheses, and then right next to that write broken controller stream if you want to see my controller get launched from dying because it refuses to work. Or here, I should say, don't expect a face cam. I'm not going to put you guys through that torture, but I also want to take this time to say thank you for the amount of growth that the channel has seen lately. It's been insane. I mean, we broke 10K like a week or 2 ago, and we're already inching closer to 11,000, so probably going to do something special. Don't know what the hell yet, so if you guys have suggestions, feel free to write those down as well. But yeah, thank you for listening to this little PSA.